Hey,
Hey,
how's it going?
it's going. Today's one of those days. I got my booster shot over the weekend,
Oh, nice.
and yesterday was like my body was just tense and tight. So today, like, it's feeling better, but my arm's still sore. So like, it's one of those recovery things I'm
Not
trying to deal with.
100%.
Yeah, but
Wow, of
thanks for coming out. Thanks for doing this,
course.
and yeah, I'm hoping we can have a fun and enjoyable interview. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
let's get started.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't answer your question about I just saw it now about like anything to avoid.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Okay.
we're pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I
So
mean, no drugs, no alcohol talk. I mean, alcohol's fine, but like no drugs. I'm still I work as a teacher, so like I just have to be careful of that stuff.
gotcha. Fair. So Sandy, tell us about the shrooms that you took on the weekend. No, it's cool. I gotcha.
Wow.
All
No.
right. Well, everybody, thank y'all for joining in. Welcome to the 2 Degrees podcast brought to you by the Play On Foundation. Today's guest hails all the way from my beloved city. And I'm so thrilled to have her on just because I get to talk about fashion and I love fashion. And I used to work at a tailor shop in Toronto, and I have such an affinity for fabrics. So everybody, we got Sandy Kaur Gill. How we doing? How's the day? Where are you? You're in LA, right?
Yeah, I'm in LA. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. Yes,
Nice.
I'm on PST.
Nice. It's yeah, I've had a few calls where I get a notification when people join the room, and then there'll be times where it's like 3 hours ahead, and I'm like, what the hell? So thank you
Yeah,
for being on the
yeah.
Pacific side. Um, yeah, I guess let's dive in. But from following you, I've known you to be a teacher. So like professionally, you went to school to be a teacher. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So then how did you lean then into the fashion world?
I mean, it was never like a decision that I made, or I never did this intentionally. It just kind of happened. I'm someone who loves fashion and expresses myself through fashion. So when I started to go to school for teaching, that is the same year, just coincidentally, that Instagram started.
Hmm.
So I just was like, okay, well, I'm a teacher, and in my spare time, I'm going to download this app and post pictures of my outfit every day. And fast forward, here we are.
Nice. Oh wow. So
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
cultivated it and all through social media then.
Yeah, it all began through social media.
Wow. When you first started doing that, did you do it with intent that this is going to be a tool to show off, or did you just see that as I'm just going to do this for fun?
Neither. It was just me sharing with my friends. I had a private Instagram,
Hmm.
and I was just sharing with my friends like what I was wearing every day and like different outfit ideas. And then eventually, when it started to gain traction, even amongst my friends, that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to unprivate my account and let other people see this and just start. So
Fair.
it was definitely unintentional, very just me sharing my
Mhm.
outfits. Yeah.
Now, with your style today and the videos and stuff that you post with what you're wearing in your attire, um, it's how would you classify it? Because it's not it's not really Toronto, but at the same time, because I know you went to New York, but it's not quite New York either.
Like my
So
fashion sense,
yeah.
I think it's just very it's just very representative of who I am as a
Mhm.
person. And that's just, I'm a lot of different things.
Okay.
I'm Canadian, I'm Punjabi, I'm I'm a creative. There's just so many different things, and I love so many different cultures and so many different styles of music, and it's all kind of just reflected in my fashion. You know, I'm a 90s baby, late 80s, 90s baby, so it's like all of that is reflected in my fashion sense.
Mhm. Do you have a base then for your fashion? So back when like I was working at the tailor shop and everything, I kind of styled myself around the shoes that I'd be wearing that evening.
Okay.
What is your thoughts when you're putting an outfit together?
Definitely what my mood is and like what I want to feel like or how I'm feeling.
Okay.
I want to reflect that. If I'm feeling like hyper and excited or, you know, just whatever that is, I'll channel that through my outfit. If I'm feeling like super flirty and girly, then that'll be in my outfit. If I want to be super chill and comfortable, if I want to be like the showstopper, that'll be, it's just all about the mood and how do I want to feel.
Gotcha. Fair.
Yeah.
Then what helps drive that image? So let's say you want to go and be a showstopper. Is this how you feel about the items of clothing that you're looking at that's hanging there? Or do you channel and pull from different showstopper outfits that you come across?
Probably a bit of both. So
Hmm.
there might be an item or like a blazer or something that is super showstopper, and I know it'll get my point across or my mood across, or it could just be like a bunch of different things put together and how they're worn that will achieve the showstopper mood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What then would you say is like your main look?
Um,
How do you like presenting yourself most of the time?
Most of the time, I would say just like comfortable. Oh, that's really hard because I don't have a most of the time
Hmm.
look, unfortunately. Like I'm the type of person that changes my outfit twice a day or three times a day.
Fair.
And sometimes the mood changes every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was
So
it
I'm
like?
I'm
What
a
was it like
chameleon.
growing up?
That's what I would describe it as.
Fair. What was it like growing up then? From what's your earliest memory when it comes to your own style, and then how did that evolve through elementary school and high school?
So many of my earliest memories are tied to fashion. I don't remember a lot of my childhood,
Hmm.
but I remember like times when my older sister would be on vacation or away, and I would be stealing clothes from her closet to wear and just like mastering the art of putting them away without her noticing. Watching my dad dress up and every day, like I would make an effort to pick my outfit for the next day every night. And I didn't have a lot of clothes then. And like back to school shopping was like one shirt, one pair of pants, and a pair of shoes. Like that was the allotment every year. So I had to be creative with what I had and what I had from previous years and what my sisters had to put together something new and fresh and different every day. I didn't repeat my outfit very much. So I had to like be creative.
Did you go to a public high school then?
I did. I went to public school. Yeah.
Gotcha. I found that like to be one of the most fascinating aspects of going to a Catholic high school was the uniform. And
Yeah.
everybody was just so eclectic in their own way, where
Yeah.
there was a uniform, but it wasn't worn uniformly. And I found
Oh,
that so fascinating, where it's like
yeah.
people found
People
their
trying to be
own
creative.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, then, have you ever found yourself in a situation where somebody else is wearing the same thing that you're wearing?
No, but I've had like people own items that I own, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I've never really been somewhere where someone's been wearing the same thing as me.
Because yeah, I find that fascinating too, where I've come across people who've been in situations where it's like they go to a party and then there's somebody wearing the exact same thing,
Yeah.
and I'm just curious to know like the thought process that goes into their head when they see somebody, because they think they're being original with what they're wearing, and then all of a sudden they just come across somebody that has the exact same thing, and it's just one of those moments that like I just can't.
That has never happened to me.
So back to teaching then. What was it about teaching that drew you in, and then what's been the balance? What do you find is the hardest part about balancing teaching and being a stylist?
I teaching was also something that I never set out to do. I did my undergrad in political science. So it was not, I never knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but it was a lifestyle that my sister and her husband had. And I was just in university, not really sure what I wanted to do, but knew certain things about myself. Like I love being around children. I love school. So naturally, my sister was like, why don't you become a teacher? And that's it. I did it. And then it was more of something that while I was doing it, I realized that I loved it so much and I was really good at it. So it was not something that I set out to do. Yeah. And the balance is something that with a lot of practice gets easier. I've always been somebody who's been juggling multiple things at once, like growing up child of an immigrant. I worked at like 15 and a half, like I had my first job and I was like in high school, going to work, like sometimes 2 jobs in the summer, worked all through university, full-time, worked all through my master's teaching degree. Like I was just always working. So I think now as I'm older, it's just a part of me, and actually slowing down and putting less stuff on my schedule is usually something that I have trouble with. But yeah, the balance, like, and I'm also I've dropped down to being a contract teacher. So that means that I'm only teaching when I'm in Toronto, but there's still the balance with that because with my business, the work never stops with that. So it's still, balancing the two is still something that's important. Yeah.
Do you have plans to then turn your styling company, your styling business, then into something educational?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the work that I do is educational in the sense that when I have personal styling clients who I'm like going into their homes and I'm teaching them how to use their clothes the best, how to maximize the potential of their closet, how to dress for their body, how to dress for their mood, how to express themselves through clothing. It's all teaching, I guess, if you think about it. So yeah, I think everything that I do kind of has a bit of teaching involved in it. Yeah.
Then with that, guide me through, I guess, how you go about figuring out what style works best for a particular person, because you have your style, and as impeccable as that is, it might not work for the next person, right? So then how do you go about figuring out what somebody has and then how that would look good on them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm very much like a big believer that you should be dressing to your mood and your personality always. And that's how you'll always feel the most confident. So I like to get to know people first. I like to get to know my clients. I want to grab a coffee with them, know more about their life, learn more about their fashion goals. And that means like the lifestyle that they live, the image that they want to portray, their job, what their day-to-day fashion might look like. These are things that I want to know. I want to get to know them so that I can help them achieve results that are tailored towards their lifestyle and personality.
How then did you go about developing that? Because I'm assuming there's a lot of trial and error involved within this industry. So then how did you, I guess, adopt this formula that seems to work?
I mean, it works for me, but I think that because I never set out to be a stylist, and I was always just trying to help people feel good in what they wore. It just kind of happened by fluke, because that's kind of just the model. Like, the goal is to help people feel good. And I think about how I do that through my fashion choices, and I try to teach people to do the same. Like, let's figure out like the image you want to portray, and like what kind of work you do, and all of those kind of things. So lots of trial and error, but meeting different types of clients that are sure about their style, or some that are unsure, like just practicing with them, and also just sticking true to my gut and knowing that like it's all about making people feel good in the clothes that they wear.
That's
Mhm.
a fair motto to go about it for sure. So if being a stylist was never the goal, then how did that come about?
So the Instagram, so the like posting my photos online, gaining more traction. Then one of my friends, Lily Singh, who was at that point just making YouTube videos, she was like, "Hey, do you want to dress me for some things?" Like, and then that's really when it turned into being a stylist, because I didn't even know what a stylist did. But then styling Lily was when I really got to practice the art and understand that this could be an actual job, an actual business. Like, I'm good at this. Yeah.
So then from styling Lily, and so
Mm.
she was your first client then?
She was my first client. Yep.
So what are some valuable lessons that you learned from that moment that you still carry into today?
Um, Valuable lessons. Definitely, again, it might sound repetitive, but like it's all about how the person feels.
Hmm.
It's like you cannot dress somebody. I'm sure there's a lot of people who do this because it's so common, but just wearing like name brands or wearing whatever's hot, it may not look good on you if you don't feel good in it. And it's really just about figuring out what you feel the most confident in. That could be a color, that could be a style of clothing, that could be when you're showing a certain part of your skin, you feel more confident. Like, it varies for everybody, but I would say from the first client that I dressed, that was one thing that was always definite. Like, got to make them feel good.
Hmm.
It's not about making them look good.
What's one aspect of fashion then that really helps cater to that emotion of feeling?
What's one emotion you would say? Sorry.
One like aspect of fashion. So like let's say fabric or color or particular item. So it's like if you want to feel, like you're chilling, like you throw on like some Air Forces or something. I don't know. But like let's say somebody said that, let's say I'm asking that I want you to make me
Yeah.
feel happy. Like where does your mind go to help facilitate that mood?
Well, it would go to asking you a bunch of questions.
Hmm.
Okay, like when you're happy, what does that feel like in terms of comfort level? Like, are you still happy in a tight pair of pants, or are you more happy when you're comfortable? Like some
Hmm.
people, it doesn't matter for me. And then asking you even maybe to look at a color wheel and identify some colors that make you feel happy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's your opinion with the fashion on the Met Gala?
Oh, I love it. I'm a big fan. I love that people can really get creative, and I love sticking to a theme.
Hmm.
I love it. I'm all about the Met Gala.
Is there one outfit, not specifically to the Met Gala, but is there one outfit that just stands out in your mind as like this is the most beautifully put together thing that I've seen?
That's impossible because
Hmm.
I see so many looks that I love. But if I was to pick one, like in the recent, I'd say month or two, because there's literally outfits that make me feel like that weekly. But I would say Rihanna's pregnancy reveal pictures, like those, the outfit was so good. She looks so confident. Yeah, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What other influences, or I guess what are your influences then for your choice and selection in different articles of clothing?
Influences, I feel like for this are very widespread. Like it could be a song, it could be a piece of art, it could be like a particular designer. So I would say like like a lot of my influence comes from pop culture, hip hop, my own culture. Being a Punjabi woman, a lot of my fashion inspo draws from that. So definitely inspo is everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On that topic of your culture being a big deal, I've seen that you've also started incorporating Indian fabrics into your styling. So
Mm-hmm.
what is it then about Indian fabrics that stand out to you personally?
I think first and foremost, of course, like it's where my people are from. So it's something that I identify with. It's something that makes me feel safe and seen and represented. My childhood, my family, like there's so much in those fabrics that reminds me of who I am and who my people are and like what they've been through to get to where they are. Yeah, like definitely all of those things.
Were you born and raised in Canada?
Yes, I was born and raised in Canada.
Was there ever a point in your childhood, because me speaking from my experience, there was a point that I didn't want to associate myself with being Filipino. Did you happen to go through that phase where it's like you didn't want to be associated with being Punjabi or the Indian diaspora?
I think there were some things that I was embarrassed of, but never, I did very much grow up being proud of my heritage. Maybe because I grew up in Brampton and there were a lot of brown kids growing up around me. So there was a lot of us. It wasn't just like I was the one brown girl in the school full of white people, but
Gotcha.
so I was naturally embracing it more. But there were certain like stereotypes or certain things that I was embarrassed of and that I like would think about when leaving my house, or just like, oily hair, smelling like Indian food. Yeah, like having body hair. These are all things that like are very South Asian, and definitely grew up having those at the top of my mind.
Would you say then some of that still lingers, or have you successfully navigated those embarrassments and now that it's a part of you and you're just proud of it?
I would say that because I didn't feel embarrassed of it as much. It's now gotten to the point where it's like the complete opposite. I'm so proud of it, and I want to make sure that future generations are equipped to embrace it and love it as much as I was able to growing up in Brampton. So it's just a lot more of like really working to break those stereotypes and just challenge anything about that I feel like I need to.
And you used a very specific word when I asked about the fabrics, where you said it makes you feel safe. What does it mean to feel safe in your clothing?
Feeling safe, like feeling loved for me, like feeling loved, feeling like strong. When I think of my heritage, my people, those are two words that come to mind, like strong, warrior spirit, and definitely love, like just love, community. Those are all the things that I think of. So that's that's probably what I mean. And also it's probably associated with my childhood and feeling like loved and safe within my family and like feeling like I'm part of a team.
It's beautiful. So with that, and going back to family, especially, during, I don't even know how long ago it was now, when it started, but the farmer protest,
Mm-hmm.
around that time, then you released your clothing line to help raise funds for that.
Mm-hmm.
So through that, um, tell me more about your particular choice in design for your clothing line and what that represents when it comes to your culture.
Yeah, so it didn't come to light like for the protest, but it happened to be around the same time.
Mhm.
The clothing line is all about the story of my parents' immigration to Canada, which is a story that a lot of different Canadians, a lot of different children of immigrants can relate to, like your parents leaving their home to come here and take up like jobs as taxi drivers and factory workers to provide for their family. And just going through COVID and like seeing people um, not have anything to do because everything was shut down, and seeing how it made my parents so restless, and just realizing that like they are of the working class and they're just so used to working, and it's so ingrained in their lifestyle. It's such a part of their mental health that it's also such a big part of me, because I was just drawing connections and realizing like how I felt, and watching my being stuck at home with my parents and watching all of this, pan out. Um, and I was inspired to create something that paid homage to all the immigrant families, like the backbone of society. And so the imagery and the collection is all very representative of like the taxi drivers and the Punjabi immigrants, and like the different things that we bring from our hometown into the West, and just different images that popped up in my childhood. Yeah, so it's just like a mashup of all of that different stuff, to share that story of resilience and working class hustle.
Yeah, I was gonna wear my hoodie
Ugh.
for this interview, but it's hot. It's hot in Cali. So now with that, then we're just like, you have your clothing line out. What then is, I guess, the hope that you want your buyers or the people who are going to be wearing your clothing line, what's the message that you want to be translated to them? When, because as much as you want everybody to, identify with the fact that this relates to the resiliency of your culture and your history, where it's like, if you have a random white dude buy it, they're not going to be able to relate to that particular part of the story. So then what's something that you would want them to feel or understand in buying your clothing, your line?
I would definitely say it's about, number one, the feeling of like feeling comfortable.
Hmm.
The second thing would be feeling represented. I don't think my clothing is for everybody. I think it is for the people who feel seen in the story that we're trying to tell. Each collection tells a story of growth, of resilience, of love, and so I would, and hard work. So I would want people to be wearing it who believe that story, and who feel that story and can relate to it.
You being such a resilient and strong voice that you already are, and especially for um, the Asian and South Asian community, but specifically for girls and women, what's something that you hope you can translate to the next generation of kids who seem to be straying away from their roots?
Um, that's a tough one. I don't. Um, in what way we feel like they're straying away from their roots, like their culture. I feel like we're kind of on our way back there now, because I'm seeing so many people embracing their culture online, much more than people were when I was growing up. So I would say that just an important thing for me is like to work to be a good communicator and to be always open to learning. Those things will help you communicate with people who came before you and learn from them, and develop a connection, whether that's your parents, whether that's like other people in the world, but communicate with people effectively. And definitely just ask questions, always be open to learn new things, always be open to pivoting, always be open to just change and learn your way through it.
With that, what's the most recent thing that you learned?
That I've learned,
It doesn't even have to be like super deep. It could be something menial.
okay.
It's like using you've never opened a wine bottle, so now you know how to use
Actually, yes.
That was it?
Yeah, that's something I learned how to do yesterday. Yeah,
That's so funny.
learn how to open a wine bottle. Yeah.
So you've never done that before? Interesting.
Never in my life. Yeah. I also didn't drink for like the first like 30 years of my life almost.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So then with that, what kind of prompted that gateway to open, where it's like what allowed you to start drinking?
Nothing in particular. I was just, to be honest, I was peer pressured, but not in a bad way. Yeah, it was just something that I think I had a very specific opinion about alcohol, and it was just something about, like how I grew up, and the Punjabi relationship to alcohol that kind of tarnished my view for a very long time, until I became old enough to have my own relationship with it and like create my own relationship with it. Yeah. Yeah.
So you went to focus on styling and you went to New York for it.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, the fashion hub in North America. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? What happened to I guess not only your drive and your passion for it, but where did your mind go when you realized that this is turning into a fucking hurdle?
Like when I came back?
Yeah.
I think it was like something that slowly sank in, because it was so uncertain that I had no idea when I was going to go back to New York. I had no idea. I didn't even pack my apartment. So I was really just going with it month by month. And it took a while for it to sink in, but not because I was just like not thinking about that, but more so because it was just so much uncertainty. There was so much more that was important that was going on that was not as important as me figuring out where I was going to be living, or like how I'm going to get back to New York at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what made you choose LA this time around versus going back to New York?
I've been doing like month-long trips, so I have been going back to New York as well. I've just been finding that work-wise and like friends-wise, like so many more of my people are here now. Than in New York. A lot of people went back to LA from New York, my friends who are originally from LA. And I also just really needed sunshine after spending 2 full winters basically in Canada. Like I needed sunshine.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Let's get spiritual for a second.
Okay.
What's your relationship then like with the sun?
With the sun, I don't know. I love the sun. That's our relationship.
Got you. I thought it was gonna go deeper when you said I needed sun, and I was like, oh, interesting. What do you mean you
No,
need
I just need
just
the
for
sun. I need it to
yeah,
be like warm. I want
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So does that mean you're then, because that's why I went about the adventure that I did, where I built a tiny home on a truck just so I can literally escape winter. And that's why I'm in Cali at the moment, just because I'm just chilling, relaxing, enjoying the weather. But it's like,
Are you
does
in
that
a
mean,
truck?
yeah, I bought a moving truck and I turned it into a tiny home. I got where's my kitchen's over there, got my fridge, I got my bathroom and shower over there, my bed's up there. Yeah. I,
Wow. And
that
where in
was
California are you?
I was in so like what I did was I went to Florida first. So from Vancouver, went all the way to the East Coast, then south to Florida, and then drove from Florida across. So from when I was in California, I started in San Diego, stayed there for about a month, and then did about another month and a half in LA. And I want to say just as you were getting to LA, I was leaving. So then right now I'm up in San Francisco.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So just waiting for it to warm up a bit more in Canada before I start making my way back up north.
Nice.
But so yeah, does that mean you're done with Canadian winter, or can Canada expect you back wintertime anytime soon?
I'm sure I'll find my way back there, and I'm sure I'll be there during the winter for spurts here and there. My family still lives there, and I need to see them every month. So you'll catch me there, but not for long.
Yeah. Is there ever, like for me, I have this running thing with like my family where it's like, why the hell would you choose somewhere that gets this cold? Have you ever had that conversation with your parents?
No, because my parents, they went wherever they would take them.
Fair.
And I get that. Like they didn't have, they had no choices. Even Canada wasn't a choice.
Mm.
So they went wherever they could get in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, like I guess that also adds to the resiliency of their story then.
Yeah.
So then can you share bits of that? So it's like what happened with their immigration process?
I mean, that's actually something that I probably shouldn't get too detailed into, but just
Okay.
overall, like my dad immigrated when he was like 18 in the 70s. He came here first, and then he brought over my mom, and then they had a bunch of like back and forth. And yeah, they worked like 2, 3 jobs at a
Hmm.
time. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like it was, my dad is it was the only sibling in his entire family here for at least like the first 20 years. He didn't have any family here.
Wow.
Um,
Um, can you share why he decided to immigrate?
yeah, I mean, he was the chosen one. He's got 7 brothers and 3 sisters, and he was literally the chosen one to
Yeah.
venture out into Canada and see if he can bring the rest of the family there. And like that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Back
find
then
that
there
funny
was not.
because like my grandparents came here with my dad, and then my other set of grandparents came here with my mom, and it's like my dad's parents decided to settle in California, and
Mm,
every now and then I'm just like, why wouldn't you go with them? Why why wouldn't you just choose somewhere hot? Uh,
yeah.
so now you're in LA. What's then the next, I guess, big thing for you when it comes to establishing yourself and branding yourself as a stylist?
Um, I mean, I think I'm actually personally at the point now where I'm trying to figure out what's going to be next.
Hmm.
And maybe pivoting and getting out of styling and doing something else that's next, which I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm on my way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go into that and then the emotion of that, where the way you said it comes from a place of excitement where that can come out of somebody else's mouth from a place of fear.
I mean, it was coming from a place of fear for a very long time
Yeah.
until I actually felt like it'll be okay. I'll figure out what it is and just kind of making a plan. But it was very scary for the first forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you, or do you have moments that you can recall where that fear almost got the best of it? Where it's like, maybe I'll just stick to teaching.
Yeah, I mean, over this winter break, it was definitely very, like, I felt like almost like it was a debilitating like fear, like not knowing what I was going to do next. Teaching, I mean, teaching will always be a part of my life, and that's one thing in my life that I feel very confident about. I will never let go of it. I will always be a teacher. But when it comes to like content creation, fashion, styling, like I feel like I'm getting to a point where I just want to do that for fun, and I don't want to do it as a job anymore. And once I understood that, it was a lot easier to figure out what I want to do next or be comfortable with where I'm at.
Was there then ever a point where you saw your styling as, oh, this is my art, this is what I'm supposed to do? Or did you always just see it as, this is just a hobby?
Oh no, definitely saw it as like my calling to the world. And in some ways it still is. Um, I think the entire time I was doing it, maybe for the first like 6 years, I was so happy and it was something that brought me so much joy. I think when it started to become more of like a full-time thing to the point where I had to keep reinventing myself, and it was just becoming less fun the more that I was dependent on it financially. And that's when I was like, this is not it for me.
Can you expand more on what you mean by having to constantly redefine yourself?
Like as a content creator, always reinventing your content and like making it match whatever's hot right now, or yeah, and like just creating for whatever people like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just was not, yeah, it just was not something that made me happy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So with that, the reason why I asked if you felt like it was your calling in your art, where it's like, personally, having moments where I feel like I have to pivot and change direction from what I think my calling is, has always led me into a depression.
Yeah.
Where did your head go? Did it get to a point where you were depressed, where it's like, I if I give this up, then I'm, for the sake of this argument, it's like, if I give up styling, then I failed on my art?
100%. That was the past like 6 months. That's exactly where I feel like my head's been at, and where it's been like not happy as a stylist, but also feel like I have to do it. So I have to figure it out, not feeling motivated, not feeling good at what I'm doing, not feeling rewarded, feeling very depressed, not having any motivation to do anything. Yeah.
So then how did you navigate from there? And I'm asking this from a perspective of, if there's somebody else that decides to listen to this, and if they take anything from it, maybe the way you handled it could be something they could relate to, where, because in general, everybody has their own method when it comes to getting out of a depression. So if there are people listening, like, don't think that this is the method to get out of a depression, but how did you go from that feeling to saying now that you have to pivot, but not from a place of fear?
Number one, definitely therapy. Having someone around that I'm talking it out with and that I'm able to recognize my patterns with. Also sitting with the feelings, like allowing yourself to feel feel like shit sometimes.
Yeah.
But to an extent. And of course, like making sure that other people know that you feel that way, so that, yeah. So like sitting with those feelings, journaling a lot, going through therapy. Also, a part of me had to accept that this was happening. So I had to be very self-aware, and again, learn this through therapy, like sitting and just watching your life. Like, this is happening to me right now. This is how I feel. I can't get out of it. This is one of the things I'm going to have to go through, and I have to get out on the other side. But it's going to suck while I'm going through it, and just being aware and being kind to myself and my body and my mind while I'm going through that.
Yeah. So with that, with this whole pivoting, before exploring any ideas of where your head could be at with what it is that you want to do, before you pivot out of it, do you have any dream clients that you can think of on who you'd want to get to before you stop doing it?
I mean, I won't stop doing it entirely. It just be all end all. I'd rather just do it for fun. So I'll always be available for all my dream clients. Oops. And I'm not too sure. Something a little bit more structured. It might be something completely out of this field. Who knows? I might do my law degree and become a lawyer or a politician. I have no idea.
Wow.
But no, not those things. But yeah, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. What has been, I guess, the fun parts in trying to figure it out?
The fun part has been like the world is my oyster, like knowing and just feeling okay that there's so many options, and it's okay to change my career in my 30s. And like, I think that's been the most exciting, like knowing that there's no door that's closed.
Yeah.
And have so many options.
So what are some options then that kind of are at the top, or do you have a list of favorite things that you want to pivot into?
I mean, I have it already narrowed down, but I don't think I just wouldn't want to say it on a podcast, because next thing you know, I change my mind. And
That's fair.
yeah.
Now, with going back to your styling and with the fashion world, where then have you not been in terms of traveling? Where's a fashion mecca that you want to visit?
Definitely London. London has been on my list. I will be there this summer. But yeah, London's been on my list for a very long time.
Nice.
Mhm.
Can you break down then what it is that, what's the main differences in trying to achieve a Cali vibe, a New York vibe, or the London vibe?
I mean, I wouldn't be able to answer London, but I mean, Cali vibe is definitely comfort.
Hmm.
Comfort, comfort and classic. New York is just everything. New York is personality, it's crazy, it's expressive. And London, I don't know. I'm excited to find out though.
What is it then about London that's drawing you and calling you over?
I've just heard that I've been told many times by friends that my personality would be great in London and my fashion sense would be great in London. I think that people are very they're a good mix of Toronto and New York. So from what I've heard. So I mean, those are two of my favorite cities. So I'm yeah.
Sweet. Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, Sandy, that, I think you answered everything that I got to ask.
Perfect.
And I'm again absolutely honored and thrilled that you were able to come out and lend the time that you did, and
Of
despite
course.
the fucking thing shutting off a couple times. Yeah, other than that, I guess before I leave you, what's one thing then about or if you have any insight on the Toronto's fashion industry, where is it growing? Is it stunted? Because I ask from the perspective of when I speak with people in the music industry as well as the film and TV industry, Toronto's industry is lacking a lot. So from the perspective now of the fashion industry, where would you say Toronto sits? And is it growing? What's your opinion?
I would definitely say that from a fashion front, like it's definitely not lacking, but it's shy. I think that the Toronto industry just needs to get better at embracing everyone and celebrating everyone and being more inclusive. I think our city is just experiencing growth in many ways, like basketball, music, and it's going to just take a couple of years for us to get to a point where we've embraced it, we're growing, we're including people, we're doing all the things. Because right now, I think it's still in the beginning stages. It's a growing city. There's lots of great stuff coming out of it. Yeah, and it's just give us 10 years and we'll be the hottest city in the world.
Fair. That's
Yeah.
I like that. That's very optimistic too. And that's the hope that I have across the board for the entertainment industry, especially from Toronto, because there's so many artists. And there's just not that opportunity to express themselves because of how limited I feel the
Yeah.
entertainment industry as a whole is in Toronto. And as you've probably experienced, where it's like you've kind of had to leave to build your rapport with the industry. So
Yeah.
I find that just incredibly fascinating, where Toronto just has so much talent, but it just doesn't have the means to cultivate these talents.
I don't even know if it's just the means. I don't know if people are ready and comfortable,
Interesting.
but it's just because we're new.
Fair. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Sandy, thank you again so much for coming out. And it was
Of course.
yeah. So other than that, everybody, 2 Degrees Podcast brought to you by the Play On Foundation. Our guest today, Sandy Kaur Gill. Check her out, Instagram, follow her, check out her fun videos. Like, it just makes fashion fun and want to take part in it. And hopefully some of that inspires you. But other than that, thank you all for coming out and making that video.
Awesome.